Welcome to Burn On, Not Out, the podcast for high achievers who've checked the boxes, hit the goals, built the life, but know there has to be another way. I'm Brooke Dukes, your no BS business bestie, and I'm here to cut through the fluff with real stories, sharp insights, and the kind of truth that opens your eyes to a new way of creating success with ease and flow. No hacks, no hustle worship, no pretending constant activity is momentum. Just the raw, practical, and powerful shifts that happen when you stop leading from fear and start leading without the armor, with clarity and authenticity. Let's get into it. What do you do when you're doing all the right things and nothing seems to be landing? The momentum that you expected isn't there. Well, the old me used to scramble, get into massive activity, make huge decisions like rebranding our entire business, hire yet another expert to tell me what to do because I didn't trust myself. If that sounds like you, then you're going to want to hear this episode because recently things weren't moving the way that I wanted them to, right? They weren't moving fast enough, the way that I expected them. We weren't bringing in new members into our club the way that I expected. Our retreat wasn't filling up fast enough. And I started to feel that old frustration, that old panic, and that seductive voice that says, fuck, you should know this by now. Why is this happening again? Well, this is the moment where even high-level leaders abandon themselves. And this time, I didn't. And I want to share that experience with you. So here's what I used to do when things weren't moving the way that I wanted them to, when it just wasn't going fast enough. I'd go to a coach or a mentor for the answer immediately. Okay, it's not going, go to the expert. Not necessarily for that strategy, but really looking back at it now, it was just to get rid of that uncomfortable feeling, to feel certain. I didn't like that uncertain feeling that I didn't have the answer and I couldn't make it happen. I'd make big changes out of urgency because doing something felt a hell of a lot safer than sitting in that unknown and not doing, because that's what I knew. Doing felt certain to me. And I'd distract myself in very socially acceptable ways, right, with sports, which people love to praise. I learned pickleball, I would golf, you name it, I would do it. But that kind of movement, that kind of distraction, it really didn't bring me clarity. It brought out in me that competitive drive, which wasn't what I was looking for. I was waiting for that creative genius, that hit. I would also go into massive learning mode. Well, I must need more information. Maybe I just don't know enough. And so I'd start consuming that information. Again, staying busy, because that was my safe zone. That's where I felt comfortable. And it looked really productive and it looked really responsible. Like I was doing all the right things, but it kept me occupied. It didn't keep me in that creative space where downloads would happen, where the answers come, where our body's telling us exactly how we need to shift and pivot and move. This is the pattern of a high achiever who's deeply uncomfortable with the pause. And I know that space very intimately. So let me be really clear about this. This wasn't about support. I could tell myself that. It wasn't. It was about relief. Relief from not knowing. Relief from not being in control. Relief from sitting in the feeling of something's off, but I can't name it and I don't know what to do about it. I used to confuse activity with momentum and achievement. So this time, I didn't look outward. I didn't look to distract myself. I didn't need to go get the strategy or the expert. I slowed all the way down and I just sat with it for over a month. Honestly, I will tell you, in that month, there's so many times when I almost gave up and said, you know what, I know the answer. I'm just going to do it. But I didn't. I sat with it. And instead of performing my way out of the discomfort, I painted, which is something that calms me. I took long walks in nature and just was with myself, was with my dog, hanging out. I even took up knitting. Yeah, I suck at it, but it was a nice way to just kind of be and sit with myself. I let my hands move without needing an outcome. I was just being. I stopped consuming that content, not because it's wrong, but because I was doing it for the wrong reason. I didn't need more information. That is my line one shadow. Something's not going right. I must not know enough. And that has kept me stuck quite a bit because I knew it. I needed space. I just needed time to be able to hear my own intuition, something that was quiet, something that was non-performative. I did breath work. I journaled in the mornings. And I noticed the frustration without trying to eliminate it. I sat in those emotions because there was this knowing. I knew that the answer was just, it was almost like it was in a fog, in a distance, just out of reach. So I knew things were happening under the surface. I just had to give them time because everything happens in perfect timing. And so many times in my career, I've missed that timing. I missed the opportunity because I was so busy being in motion. And that old version of me would have panicked. But this version stayed. And this is exactly what it looks like to lead without force. I didn't collapse into the emotions and the uncertainty. I didn't react. I held myself steady long enough for the truth to show up. And it did. It just popped in as I was journaling. It hit me. We were speaking to an older version of our audience, not the person who's still trying to get it all working, but the one who already has and is ready to take that next step of evolution. And if I had forced this earlier, I would have burned everything down and I would have rebuilt with urgency. Rebranding, redoing the website, let's figure out the content. I mean, we would have had a lot of activity, what I would have thought was momentum, and I would have missed it. Because instead, the answer was small shifts, precise language, sharper resonance. That's it. This wasn't about doing more. It was about speaking from who we are now. Now, that distinction changes everything. And it's one that most leaders never give themselves time to see. I want you to ask yourself, where am I still outsourcing my power? Not because I need support, but because I don't want to sit with not knowing. I don't want to sit in those discomfort of those feelings. I don't want to sit in it and allow the answers to come to me. What productive distraction am I using to avoid that pause? I never moved without full conviction that it was the right thing to do. But what was happening is I was out of fear. I was moving out of fear. It was not out of my inner knowing. It was that fear talking in the back of my head. You better go, Brooke. You better get it done. Make it happen. And that has kept me stuck in a lot of ways. Next, I want you to ask yourself, what would happen if I stopped trying to move, right? If I stopped the activity and I just let clarity come to me. If I just waited, if I just paused, what would happen? What are you afraid of? I did a lot of journaling in this month. And I know that for me, I was so worried that in that pause, everything would fall apart. In that pause, I would lose an opportunity. Well, you know what? I met more people in this month that I can support and they can support me to really reach our vision of creating conscious leaders and helping people to understand that they are their number one success strategy. Had I been in constant motion, I'd have been too fucking busy to meet anyone. One woman that I met, it's going to revolutionize our retreats. I met another woman that's going to be a fabulous expert in our club. She's from Spain. She knows human design and astrology. She has years in corporate America, and she's going to be fabulous for our community to train, helping to teach people, even enhance more what I'm giving them. Because this is about slowing down forever. I have now given my brain evidence that slowing down, it works. Because it's not about abandoning yourself in the pause. It's about finding yourself and finding those answers in the pause. So here's what I know about the person this episode is for. You're not stuck. You're not behind. You're not missing some secret strategy. You've outgrown that force, push, and chase. And you're ready for spaces that meet you at the level you're actually leading from right now. Success by Design isn't a program to fix you. It's for leaders who are done with surface level networking, polite nodding, and staying comfortable. They are ready to do things differently. It's about being in a room with other powerful leaders who rise together through conversations that expand impact, unlock real-time freedom, and shape what's next. You'll find the details in the show notes. I hope that this episode helped you, even in one small way, even if you just took a moment to listen to this podcast. And that gave you, just that moment of pause, gave you some clarity. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to Burn On Not Out. If this resonated, check the show notes for tools and resources to help you slow down, trust yourself, and keep leading without the constant pressure and stress that wears you down. Remember, real success doesn't come from pushing harder. It comes from slowing down long enough to see clearly and leading from clarity and peace instead of control and fear. I'll see you next week.